What's a story you've wanted to tell on here for a while, but haven't had the right question come up?
I always miss out on the weird things your body can do threads, but I have total control over my scalp. I can make it move in any direction, and people say it looks like I'm wearing a wig. My brother can go front and back, but I can spin it in circles. Never met another person who could do it.
What? You can spin your scalp in circles? I need more details.
That's really cool. I remember a fun fact book I had as a preteen that mentioned a guy with scalp skills that could part his own hair without touching it. Can you do that?
That's awesome. Speaking of weird things your body can do, I can choose which eye to look out of. I was born with a lazy eye, and so the way my brain is wired, it never learned how to use both eyes together. I can see out of both at the same time, but I can pick which one is dominant, I guess. I could never explain how I do it, it's just something I've always known how to do.
I can move my left ear without touching it. Does that count?
This is in a similar vein. Some people, including myself, can self-induce chill, goosebumps. It's also fairly inexplicable in how to do it, aside from just activating the sensation. For me personally, it feels like a wave of sensation starting from my lower back, up to my head, shoulders, and arms. It's quite relaxing, but also sort of exhausting, because the sensation has diminishing returns, and becomes harder to induce in quick succession.
No real direction on this one, just a memory that makes me happy. Happened about a year or so ago. There is a cafe next to my office that I pass when I go on my daily walks. On a casual Friday, I was wearing a red and black flannel, burgundy jeans, and had a red bandana. Red is my color. As I am approaching the cafe, I see a young couple and their young son, he was maybe 4 or 5, sitting at the picnic tables. When he sees me he lights up, and starts waving at me and trying to get my attention. I'm a bit confused, but I smile and wave back. When I'm coming back toward the office at the end of my walk, I am met by the kid's dad. He tells me that his son thinks I am the Red Power Ranger, and wants to hug me. He wanted to give me a heads up in case I didn't want to. Needless to say, I walked with the dad over to the kid, and gave him a big hug. Seeing the magic in his eyes lit up my entire week. I haven't seen them since then, but I honest to God hope they are all happy and healthy.
This will probably get buried, but here goes. Years ago, a guy I was dating took me to some kind of fundraiser, very casual in a hall, or church basement or something. The kind with pitchers of beer on tap. There were a lot of firemen from a certain district there, it was actually pretty packed. I left our table, and stood in line for the women's bathroom. While there, a guy comes up and starts flirting with me. I mention I'm there on a date, so he says, "You have any single friends as pretty as you?" I roll, but whatever. I say, as a matter of fact my sister and me look very much alike. He says great. Can't remember where we left it, but since he was friends with my date, I figured we could make something happen. I go back to my date, and I said I just met Bill Smith, and I think he'd be good to maybe introduce to my sister. He just says no, you don't want to do that, but wouldn't offer up any info. That was Saturday night. Sunday evening I'm at my sister's apartment, and I tell her about Bill Smith of Nameless Fire District. He's cute, and was asking me about meeting someone. She seemed pretty receptive to it, and I figured I'd work out whatever date had against it later. Anyhow, as I'm leaving, the 10 o'clock news was coming on, and they led with a teaser about a fireman from the same district having been arrested for shooting his 8 months pregnant girlfriend in the head while she was asleep. Hey, let me stick around for this, I was just with a bunch from that district last night. News starts, and you guessed it, there's that guy's picture right on the screen. I froze and said, "That's the guy I was going to introduce to you." Obviously they didn't meet, but screw that date for not telling me he not only had a girlfriend, but that she was 8 months pregnant. Guy code I guess. The girlfriend lived and I think possibly the baby too. It's been about 25 years since it happened.
I had been living with my parents for a few months while I was between jobs, and when I left town for my new job, I left a bunch of stuff stored at my parents' house, because the place I was renting was very small. This included some toiletries. I came home for a weekend visit, and during dinner, my mum says, "Hey, kids kill, I tried that body wash that you left behind, and it was terrible. I had to throw the whole thing out." I said, "Body wash? I didn't leave any body wash. It was the lilac scented stuff. Horrible really, it left me feeling all greasy, like I couldn't ever quite wash it off. Body wash." I thought for a while, and eventually I realized what it was. "Mum, was it in a big purple bottle?" "Yeah, that's it." "Mum, that was bubble bath. Did you even read the label?" So, anyways, that's the story of how my mum came to wash herself with bubble bath for several days.
I met a man whose name was challenging for me to pronounce. His name is Owayosajir. I was embarrassed every time I greeted him, as I always fumbled through his name. Then one night, he was in my dream. We sat together and he slowly helped me through the pronunciation, until I could say it perfectly. The first thing I said when I woke up was his name, and when I saw him later, I greeted him perfectly. I don't know how my brain did that, but I think about it often. Our minds are crazy.
I currently work at a forensic lab. There's a new section that was only finished late last year. The rest of the place is relatively old as far as I know. There's a downstairs section used only for evidence storage for the various departments. It's a long hallway, then a turn through a door, then another long hallway. It's relatively lonely, and to be honest, I've only ever seen another person there once. One day about a week or so ago, I went with my superior to go return some evidence. The doors are all NFC card activated, and held closed by those, hydraulic I think, door things, and it's very heavy. We're in there, and the handle moves a bunch, and you can tell someone is pushing on the door, but can't get in, because they would need a card. We immediately open the door and, nobody. Hallway is completely empty, and well, it's maybe 100 meters long, so no way somebody got to the end of it in the 1 to 2 seconds before we opened the door to look. I've since been told it's haunted, and that has happened before. I don't believe in the paranormal, but I also have exactly zero explanation for that.
My sister swallowed a hard-boiled egg whole after she saw a snake do it on the Discovery Channel. She was 8 years old at the time.
I live in Seattle, and sometime in June, a couple of kids found 2 suitcases with 2 bodies in them on one of the beaches. Horrifying. Fast forward to 4 days ago. There are 8 cop cars outside the house across the street from me. Turns out the old man who lived there was the murderer. I've seen him, and my upstairs neighbor went over to their house 5 days ago to return one of his chickens that got loose.
I saw myself in one of my husband's childhood home videos, long before we thought we had met. There we were about 8 years old, playing at a campsite. Neither of us remembered it. We later met in high school, and are now married.
This was a long time ago, but I think of it every now and then. I was at a grocery store, and out of nowhere, this kid sitting in a cart near me points right at me and says, "Mom, see that cool guy?" She kinda glances at me, and I, not really knowing what to do, gave an awkward smile and held up the peace sign to him before chuckling and walking away. That kid gave me a heck of a boost that day. I hope he's doing well.
My grandpa was hospitalized while he waited and hoped for a liver transplant. He was stuck there for 7 months. So, naturally, he escaped on the maintenance cart in his hospital gown and IV fluids raised above his head. He was going to get his cigarettes and a burrito, and nothing was stopping him. This occurred several times and it makes me laugh every time I tell people about it.
My dad had an ugly rug in his college dorm. He wanted to get rid of it, so he and some friends tossed it in a lake. Someone thought it was a body, and there was an article in the newspaper about it. Everyone knew whose rug it was.
My granddad needs to have a book written about him. He's legally changed his name to Colonel Mungus, Grandad Mungus. He's currently in a high-security psychiatric hospital in London. So many stories to tell, like when he escaped the hospital, and got on a train up to Glasgow to find us to help him start a revolution. Or how he met and fell in love with an Iranian woman, moved over to Iran with her, then burned his passport and was caught selling drugs, so was put in jail for 2 years. He's very religious, he follows Chrislam. I'm pretty sure he made it up, but it makes him happy. I speak to him on the phone weekly.
Kinda makes me want to have a cuppa with the Colonel and hear some stories firsthand. You should definitely record his stories for your family's oral history. Somewhere down the line, your spawn are going to want to hear of his tales and adventures. It would be great to hear them in his voice.
I had my first panic attack, though I didn't know that's what it was at the time, while driving a teal green, manual transmission, Geo Metro. There was some construction going on at the time that prevented me from going the quickest route, and I had to take a shortcut through one of the nicest neighborhoods in town. Due to my panic attack, I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I just wanted to get out and lie down on the side of the road. I pulled into a cul-de-sac, with only one house on one side, and trees and grass on the other. I parked on the side of the street and got out of my car and still couldn't breathe. I can't remember what I was doing, but a woman in the house saw me and came to check on me, and said she would get her husband, who was a doctor. He came out, helped me call my friend to come take me to the hospital, checked my pulse and tried to help calm me until my friend got there. Made it to the hospital, waited for ages in the ER only to find out it was a panic attack, and was told to follow up with a PCP I didn't have, because I didn't have insurance at the time. 3 years later, I got an appointment with a primary care doctor because I got a job that gave me insurance. Yay! My friend recommended him. The doctor walked in, and starts talking to me, and he says, "Do you still drive the green car?" He was the doctor who helped me through my first panic attack that happened right across the street from his house. I didn't even recognize him, but he remembered me. Edited to add, he is also by far the best primary care doctor I have ever had. Totally rad dude.
Do you still drive the green car? Well, don't leave us hanging here, do you?
Lol, no. She wasn't long for the world. I only drove the green bean for about 6 months or so before she was beyond economical repair.
I found my biological family a couple years ago, and my bio father is in prison for putting bodies into Tupperware and selling meth. I'm the child of a serial killer.
I'm assuming the family that adopted you is, for a lack of a better word, a normal, run-of-the-mill family that loves you. That is your family. You are not responsible for your father, you are not him, and he is not a representation of you. Please remember that. I would suggest getting some therapy. But children should not have to feel like a representation of their parents. Woody Harrelson's father was a mafia hitman, so just goes to show that you are not your parents.
On the upside, you have plenty of material for a book.
Exactly, I was adopted for my own safety, and I have so much respect for my bio mom for doing that. I did talk to someone about it. I just had a poor understanding of nature versus nurture, and was paranoid that I'd inherit mental illness from his side of the family. But all is well, and I fill the void with lots of cats.
Well, I guess that rules out you joining the family business.
Not necessarily.
Well friends, that's all for now. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we would love to hear your stories in the comments below.